Hi. Quick update on these. The clay now is a nice even gap to the edge of the inside of the door trim. As you kind of see over there, there's a nice even 7mm gap down the side. It follows the contour here of the door, so that I'm happy with. What I'm stuck on is design ideas. Kind of don't have the friends popping around every other day, which I must admit did tend to help no end on other designs. I've raised the centre section of this up at the moment and just temporarily just lifted it out. I started what was going to be a very small, just lower piece for heater controls. Now, due to several other ideas, obviously that the heat control unit itself is what the little white box for is. It basically replicates that. Like I said before, these knobs will probably have to be changed, or maybe even put a very mini-esque kind of bar system over here for European IVA regs. Obviously over here it doesn't matter if you put a knife sticking out of the dashboard, but still past anything. First option was to have an iPod, or sorry, an iPhone attached into the dash here. That's why I extended it down, so basically I could have the iPhone here, sort of close to the front of the gear stick, so I can just easily rest my hand on it and just do whatever I need to do. Secondly, I could have a screen here for output from the iPhone to run sat nav, switchable for review camera if I wanted to. For some customers might like that. Do like the idea of having a screen there just for whatever purpose. You don't have to have it in there. I could put something else there, but I have no depth. Just for I have no depth behind the dash. Okay, I've got about a 1-inch step here, and behind the dash I've probably got another 1 inch until you hit the heater unit. But if we come to the heater unit, I was just orientated the way you can look at it. Unfortunately, this is directly behind the dashboard, and the dashboard tubes sit kind of here. Also, this piece here sits about 3 inches below. Sits about 3 inches below here. So technically, if I put a single DIN unit in it, I can't put it in the top section, not without a massive rake to get it come down, which could look silly. I've been trying to not keep this centre section, or trying to keep the centre section from being handed, because obviously I've got to build left and right hand drive cars. So so far the top section, which was also molded in clay, and now we've done the mould for it, that's not handed. I wasn't going to make this section handed, 72 more of those. I was going to have obviously a handed binnacle for left and right, which is why you see the two zones of the tape mark side to side. They're the same, so technically I'll have a binnacle which will probably cut away into here and drop that back so that the digital dash will actually stick in there. I use an 8IM unit at the moment, but spar, stack, all kind of thing will all fit. I'm just lost for ideas at this point. How I finish this off yet, I don't know. I might just come up with a bit of a raised section to define it, or I could just curve it off. Problem is now I'm leaning towards, I do have the ergonomics width, should we say, for your legs here still. That's fine. You're invariably going to end up leaning your leg against here when you're in resting position, but to be honest, that's not a bad thing. Your right leg, or your throttle leg, would normally in a UK car obviously rest against the side, and I always tend to do that when I was driving. Just going to rest my leg. So here I'll be able to rest my foot on a clutch foot pedal, or a dummy pedal, should we say, to the left, which will be inbuilt into the side, and that'll be able to rest my other leg here. So actually it wouldn't be too bad. The width of this at the moment is really only done for the phone. If you go to a single DIN, obviously it changes the width requirement a little bit. If I stick that on the other side, roughly where I need to be. You can see I've got to be up another inch here. IVA rules me only to have a 90mm radius here. I think if we're going to have it there, I'm probably going to have it there as well. So I've got to be this width plus probably 40mm to be able to get my radius in. So it's going to add quite a bit of width to it. Now if I come over to here, so I'm adding that kind of mount, then it's starting to get in the way of my right leg. As much as I was trying to err away from a single DIN, there isn't many options for having a iPod stroke iPhone control stereo unit which everything comes from here. There is one option that I can see. It's called a Mimics unit. Basically you use the phone. You can actually tuck the phone away on the side, don't have to have it here. Use the Mimics system, which basically, literally as it says, it mimics the phone to a bigger touchscreen. And it literally just replicates exactly what's on the phone, so you control the phone from a 7-inch touchscreen, which actually makes it a lot easier in some respects. But the system itself is based on a small bit of circuitry, the screen itself, and then a normal aftermarket amplifier for the speakers. It's great for what it does, but unfortunately I don't think it has fitting a remote microphone will be the first issue. I don't think I saw on the Mimic system had a remote microphone. So if I hide the phone away in here, I'm not going to use it as a phone as such. So I've got to mount the phone here somewhere, so that I can think, or maybe even I could maybe put it into the center console and mount it here, which is what I'm kind of erring towards. So I don't know. Previously it was going to be like just straight, so technically it wasn't handed left to right. I'm now looking as to whether to blend this into here, but then cut this off completely and make this another section, so where I've got the top and lower, or upper and lower dash, I'm actually have a center console and this is separate. So I'd end up with top, lower, binnacle, 3 parts, and then center console as a separate part again. Obviously if I build the center console, then really you can't really do it in one piece, it would just be too big. And if I'm going to do a center console to here, I might as well just do the damn thing to here, cut it off there and do a handed, so instead of having it at 90 degrees to center line, I can bring it round a little bit and blend it out. If I build it round that way, then I can angle it up, do whatever the hell I want. And if I do that, and if I angle it round and down, then I can basically offset the console so the passenger has a little bit less foot room. And basically passengers are only extra weight, so we don't worry too much about them, which is why the seat's right far over up against the wall and as far back as possible. And I could even bolt that in permanently, wouldn't need to have the adjustable runners that's on the driver's seat. If I do that, then, albeit it's pain I've got to have now, I've got to model 2 center consoles. Really the first one's the only difficult one to do. The second one, you're just doing a mirror and it's pretty easy to do. It's getting the design ideas which is the biggest headache. So I'm erring towards keeping this flat, possibly doing, still not too sure about this edge here, whether to build it up or whether to shave it back and then just blend the console with a kind of a nice curve into here, or even, I don't know. I'm stuck, that's the thing. I'm running out of ideas, and I've moved about 5,000 miles from my mates, so it's kind of a bit awkward. The seat, one quickie, the seats here are actually wider at this front part here than they are here. Don't quite know why. It's the most awkward point. I've got room everywhere else to be wider. I could be wider here, wider the inside, not a problem. The only point that I don't want to be wider, right by the bloody gear stick in here, I'm wider. So the seat mould, or the seat that I was prepping, to make a mould from, I've just actually taken all the imperfections out and sanding it, and then I'll paint it properly and do it. Well, you can see here the seat bellows out. Now it tucks in a little bit here, and that's fine, it gives you a bit more support in your hips, I don't mind that. But I just don't see, well, if you look here, you can see the seat corner sticks out. Now when you sit in it, your legs are kind of here. Actually, they thin down from you, unless you're parallel by design, you tend to thin down with the legs, and it's not an issue with the Consul. So what I'm going to have to do with this, which is kind of handy, I've now figured it out, is dice and cut here, pull this in, alter this, and then make 2 new seats. And basically pull this dimension in here, probably by close to 1.5 inches. So come in 3/4 of an inch aside. That will give me more room, obviously, for a bit of a Consul design. So pretty much instead of being there, it's going to be here, and that gives me more area there. Obviously it's a standard Porsche stick, albeit it's got the billet quick shift unit. Now if we look at this, coming up at an angle to meet the dash, I don't really need any more kind of room on the dash there, I don't think, so try and, no point in going horizontal, we might as well sort of come up to it. There's plenty of room on full stick to still have this gaiter at a bit of an angle. So I could even tilt it that way a little bit. Probably best to have that kind of straight, but there you go. Sketches and ideas on a postcard. We could angle it that way. We could even angle it kind of this. That's going to look too much, but it's possible. I could have to be here. I could bring, instead of bringing this surface out, I could bring that surface out and that surface further back. It doesn't matter if there's a bit more shade to the dash. But at that level there, which is there we go. You're looking at close to 3 inches underneath this piece here. Now 3 inches clears my heater unit, so I've got complete void under 3 inches fine. Now the heater unit is kind of an angle, so it's worse over here than there, but below 75mm or below that 3 inches, I have a ton of room. So I could put it horizontal. I could even lift it up a little bit if I wanted to and cant it down a little bit, or say even do this. But obviously the face can't be any further forward than the dash at the moment, so I could even sculpt it in and then come back out. Also, internal radii, IVA, SVA, doesn't give a monkey's about because you can't get it to it with its 6-inch spherical 5-inch spherical sphere that he uses to check all the bump lines. Don't know. Help, lads. At this point I'm just I don't know, getting a bit frustrated. It's sometimes a little bit awkward designing on your own and haven't got a clear vision of stuff like this. So there's plenty of room here. Like I said before, with the gear stick and the hands here, I can easily get to the dash there while I'm driving, and that's perfectly legal. In Alberta now we have a regulation where you are not allowed to have hands free. You're also not allowed to touch a bleeding sand out system more than just 1 or 2 touches. It's a bit of a nightmare, but there you go. But plenty more finishing to do here, just kind of roughing in surfaces, but you get the general idea. That's a clearer view. Oh well. Anyway, yes, answers, anything, suggestions, much appreciated at this point. Okay, bye.